The world doesn't run on truth. It never has. It runs on control. And if you think the age of I and information has changed that, you're already behind. Machiavelli didn't write for kings. He wrote for survivors, for those who understood that in every society, power doesn't sit in the throne. It flows in the shadows. In 2025, you don't need armies. You need perception. You need presence. And above all, you need precision, because no one sees who you really are. They only see the version of you that survives their expectations. So the first lesson is this: become the one who decides how you're perceived. Don't react. Architect. Don't explain. Influence. The loudest person in the room still doesn't know who holds the silence. And it's always the silence that moves people, not the shouting. Machiavelli would have thrived in 2025. He would have posted nothing, said less, and been feared everywhere. Because the smartest power is invisible. The power that doesn't announce itself. The power that appears like water and withdraws like breath. That's the power that cannot be challenged because it leaves no pattern. He would say, wear kindness like perfume, not armor. Let it soften the room, not define you. Give them just enough warmth to lower their guard, and then stay cool. Be curious, but unreadable. Let your gaze speak more than your voice. And always, always protect your motives. People don't want your soul. They want to use your story. And in 2025, stories are currency. That means your truth, your raw, unfiltered, trembling honesty must become a vault. Not because it's not real, but because it's too valuable to be spent on people who scroll past everything sacred. This is the year of appearance. Everyone's posting, everyone's preaching, everyone's performing vulnerability, monetizing trauma, crying for clout. So don't join them. Instead, observe, study the crowd. Mirror the room until you find the fracture. Then apply pressure. Influence is no longer about control. It's about tempo, about knowing when to vanish, when to pause, when to give them the silence that forces them to remember you. In a world addicted to speed, the one who controls the pacing controls the room. So Machiavelli's wisdom mutates into something deeper now. He would whisper, never interrupt your enemy when they are over-explaining themselves. In 2025, people do it publicly. They reveal their entire mind in a story, their weakness in a caption, their ambition in a thread. And you must learn to be the opposite. Keep them guessing. Let them feel like they know you while knowing nothing at all. Walk like someone who's always leaving. Speak like someone who has already heard the answer. React like someone who's bored with manipulation. That's what makes you dangerous, because when they can't read you, they try to impress you. They try to buy your loyalty. They flatter, they follow, they ask questions. And each time they reveal more, you reveal less. You win without lifting a finger. Machiavelli didn't need power to win. He only needed them to believe he had it. In 2025, the same rule applies. You don't need to dominate people. You need to stay unpredictable. Let them think they understand you. Smile when you disagree. Praise them when they underestimate you. Show patience when they expect anger. Show poise when they want fear. That's control. That's how you outlast the noise. The modern battlefield isn't blood and iron. It's identity, belonging, algorithmic illusion. People are trying to win games they don't even understand. They post their thoughts before they've even felt them. They confess online before they've even healed. They outsource their inner world to likes and swipes. But the Machiavellian mind? It doesn't chase the crowd. It rewrites the script. You say nothing, but everything about your presence. I know more than I'm showing. You smile, but the smile ends just before it reaches your eyes. You agree, but you don't commit. You flatter, but you never bend. And this invisible stance makes them chase your validation like oxygen. You don't fight for status. You let your silence create gravity. Because now every word you speak is felt. Every gesture is remembered. Every absence is a statement. And then, when they least expect it, you disappear. You pull back. You vanish mid-sentence. Not to punish, but to remind them how cold the room feels without your warmth. That's presence. That's what they'll never forget. Machiavelli wasn't ruthless because he hated people. He was ruthless because he understood how quickly people turn. One moment, they call you brilliant. The next, they call you arrogant. One moment, they need you. The next, they erase you. And the only defense against that kind of volatility is a mind trained in emotional distance. So don't seek affection. Seek awareness. When you speak, speak last. When you give, give without attachment. When you listen, listen for patterns, not words. And always assume this: they will use your honesty the moment it benefits them. That's not cynicism. That's foresight. You can still love. You can still believe. But do it with eyes wide open. Machiavelli never said, "Do not trust." He said, "Trust with leverage." If someone shows loyalty, give them space to prove it in silence. If someone flatters you, wait for the motive. If someone rushes to be close, slow it down. Distance is clarity. And remember, the greatest manipulation is sincerity used as currency. If they give you emotion too quickly, they're either naive or planning something. So you stay still. Let them show their hand first. Let them misread your silence. Let them think you're passive. And then, only then, reveal your direction. But never your source. Never your reasoning. Never the full map. Machiavelli would survive 2025 with a whisper and a smirk. He would use algorithms like pawns. He would post strategically and vanish tactically. He would weaponize his silence while the world shouted their truths. And behind every move, every word, every pause, he would be listening, always listening for the moment control transfers. Not from power, but from attention. Because that's the true battlefield now. And if you want to win it, don't show them who you are. Show them what they expect and change it. Mid-step. Let them believe they figured you out. And then vanish. Let them need you. And then pull away. Let them chase the ghost of your past signal while you've already moved 5 steps forward. That is the new politics of the mind, and this is only the beginning. If you've mastered the silence, then you're already ahead. But silence alone isn't enough. Not in 2025, not when the world rewards noise. You need to learn how to make noise feel like silence. To speak just enough to be remembered, but never enough to be understood. That's the second phase of power. Subtle disruption. Disruption doesn't mean rebellion. It doesn't mean chaos. It means slipping between their assumptions like a shadow slipping beneath a locked door. It means saying one thing and letting it mean 3 different things, depending on who's listening. It means never being the one to raise your voice, but always being the one they quote when the shouting stops. You don't dominate the room. You become the gravity that bends every word toward you. People in 2025 are addicted to certainty. They want to label, define, categorize. So Machiavelli's second lesson becomes this: refuse to be labeled. Make yourself unframeable. Smile at their attempts to define you. Give them only fragments. Enough to keep their attention, never enough to satisfy it. People follow what they can't predict. They obsess over what they can't fully see. That's why mystery is your weapon, not absence. Mystery. You show up, but never fully. You speak, but always with a veil. You act, but with a motive they never quite catch. Because once they understand you, they stop needing you. This is the secret Machiavelli never wrote directly, because it was too dangerous. Never become familiar. Familiarity kills intrigue. And intrigue is the currency of influence. You don't want to be their friend. You want to be their unanswered question. And when the world gets too close, when the crowd begins to lean in too far, you pull back. Not to punish, to protect. Not your image, your distance. Because in 2025, access is everything. The more they see you, the less they value you. So you show up like a symbol, briefly, sharply. Then you vanish again, leaving only your impression. But let's go deeper. You must learn how to cultivate contradiction, not confusion, contradiction. The ability to be both kind and unmovable, warm and unreachable, present and distant. That's what makes people orbit around you without understanding. White Dot and Machiavelli would sharpen this into modern form, control through ambiguity. Say less, mean more. Use gesture like a language. Make your stillness louder than their noise. In a world where everyone is narrating their every move, be unreadable. That's where the real power lives now, not in dominance, in mystery, but there's more. Power today is no longer only about presence. It's about perception at scale. Influence isn't local. It's viral. So the Machiavellian mind in 2025 knows how to trigger perception without showing intention. You drop a sentence that echoes for days, a glance that gets reinterpreted for weeks. You become the conversation without ever speaking again. This isn't manipulation. This is control, the quiet kind, the timeless kind, the kind that doesn't ask for applause, only for obedience. And here's the deepest truth most people will never admit. We don't follow people because they're good. We follow them because they're certain. And certainty in a world of chaos feels like safety. So become that. Not through arrogance, but through precision. Speak only when it adds weight. Move only when it creates consequence. The more deliberate your presence becomes, the more they begin to second-guess their own. And when you feel emotion, hold it. Let it cook. Don't let the moment carry you away. Power is not the absence of feeling. It's the discipline of not leaking it, where it can be used against you. You don't need to suppress your rage. You just learn to wield it later, when it actually counts. You don't need to hide your sadness. You just learn to express it where it's safe, not where it becomes someone else's leverage. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Every human interaction is a negotiation of power. We call it friendship. We call it trust. But beneath it, we are all calculating. Who gives more? Who needs more? Who blinks first? And if you don't know how to calculate, if you refuse to admit that power lives in every exchange, you will always play someone else's game. So in 2025, you learn to play yours. You respond slower. You leave messages unanswered. Not to be cruel, but to remind them you are not on call. You are not predictable. You are not part of the feed, and the people who love you, the real ones, they will understand. They will not demand explanations for your silence. They will not punish you for your stillness. They will feel the strength in your boundaries, not the coldness. But others, those who are used to owning attention, they will lash out, they will accuse. They will try to shame you back into availability. Let them, because that's when you see who needs your weakness to feel strong. And in that moment when they expose their dependence on your emotional openness, you rise. Not in anger, not in defense, but in quiet confirmation. You see what they are, and you step back, because real power never defends itself. Real power never begs to be seen. Real power doesn't chase explanation. It doesn't whine. It doesn't plead. It moves. And when it moves, the world feels it. This is how you live in 2025. You stop competing. You start positioning. You stop explaining. You start revealing, slowly, deliberately, only when it serves your vision. You stop reacting. You start orchestrating. You don't need to win arguments. You just become the idea they can't stop thinking about. That's Machiavellian power. Not force, gravity. Not confrontation, calibration. And it never happens all at once. It begins in silence. It grows in mystery. It reveals itself in restraint. And it triumphs in your ability to make them feel seen, while you remain unseen. This is how we bend the modern world to ancient rules. But this is not the end. There's still more. To say more, to unmask. Because in the final part, you don't just play the game. You become the game. And now you walk differently. You don't chase moments, you design them. You don't argue for your place, you embody it. They look at you and feel something they can't explain. Respect, maybe. Fear, possibly. Curiosity, definitely. But mostly distance. And not the kind that pushes people away, the kind that makes them adjust their posture. Speak more carefully. Think twice before lying. Because you've become a mirror, and everyone becomes honest around a mirror they can't manipulate. This is the final layer of Machiavelli's genius. Not what you do to others, but what you've trained yourself not to need. You don't need their praise. You don't need to be the smartest voice in the room. You don't need the trophy. Because the moment you stop needing what they dangle, you stop dancing for it. In 2025, this is the revolution. Stillness. Stillness while the market shakes. Stillness while followers drop and climb. Stillness while others panic, react, spiral, overshare, overexpose. You remain composed, not because you feel no fear, but because your fear works for you now. It doesn't shout in your ear. It sharpens your decisions. People think power is domination. It's not. It's discipline. Not loud discipline. Private, ritualistic, unshakable discipline. The kind you practice when no one is watching. The kind that shapes your voice into something slow and unforgettable. The kind that makes your presence magnetic, even when you don't say a word. They can't outplay you, because they don't even know what game you're playing anymore. You've stopped explaining your strategy. You've stopped naming your moves. You've stopped broadcasting your growth. You've turned your back on performance and turned inward toward mastery. And that's why you're now ungovernable. Not because you broke rules, but because you no longer need them. Machiavelli's shadow is over your shoulder now. Not whispering tactics, but watching how well you've learned the deeper truth. That most people enslave themselves through emotion. That most people try to win the affection of those who secretly despise them. That most people build identities made of reactions. But you You are built from still fire. You feel, but you're not flung. You trust, but you track. You give, but only when you've weighed the cost. Now they come to you, not with demands, but with curiosity. They want to know what you know. They want your certainty, your poise, your ability to walk into any room and own it without announcing yourself. And what do you give them? Not advice, not steps, just an example. That's how you teach. Through silence, through refusal, through the standards you never speak aloud, but that everyone feels. You become the temperature of the room. And when they try to pull you into the old games, you smile and remain still. You know too much now. You've seen how easy it is to be manipulated by flattery. You've seen how public opinion is a wave with no spine. You've seen how the loudest voices are often the most frightened. And you've chosen to live in the space between noise and movement. This is where you outsmart everyone. Not by thinking faster, by thinking slower, by waiting when they rush, by whispering when they shout, by holding your position until they tire themselves out, It's not that you win. It's that you never play by their terms again. They'll say, "You've changed." Let them. They'll say you've grown cold. Let them. They'll say you're arrogant. Let them. Because the truth is, they're not used to someone who doesn't bleed on command. You are not for sale. You are not available. You are not interested and emotional. Charity. You are kind, but precise. Generous, but discerning. Open, but protected. And every moment you stay grounded, you remind them that power isn't taken. It's withheld, quietly, permanently, without apology. Machiavelli didn't leave a rule book. He left a mirror. And when you look into it, you don't see a tyrant. You see someone who no longer gets played by kindness, performance, approval, or urgency. You see someone who holds the entire chessboard in their mind and chooses not to move until it matters. And when you do, you checkmate with a smile. Now, if you're still listening, you're one of them. The few who don't need it loud. The few who hear the signal beneath the noise. If this truth speaks to something inside you, pass it on, quietly, deliberately, not for clout, for clarity. Share it with someone who's ready to stop performing and start leading. And if you want to keep building this inner empire, stay close. There's more to uncover. The game isn't over. But now, you're no longer a piece. You're the player.